Today is our State of Ward 5 address. This is our second of our 2 meetings that we do annually where we discuss what is happening inside of the office of Ward 5, Cleveland City Councilman. I am Councilman Richard A. Starr. Right here you have a PowerPoint presentation that we will go through to talk about all the different things that we've done the last 3.5 years and how we host our annual meetings at the first Thursday of the month over at Friendly Inn. But within our different meetings throughout the months, we have different meetings in the neighborhood just to talk about different things. So this is our second meeting, May 15th, and we had the honor and pleasure of being in the Southeast Cleveland Resource Center located off of Fleet Avenue, which is 5606 Fleet Avenue, which is a great opportunity to partner with an organization in the neighborhood to present this information. So at this meeting, I will be able to provide updates to all residents of Ward 5 regarding the work we've done the last 3.5 years. I'll also share information on upcoming projects, as well as what is taking place in the near future of Ward 5. This is an opportunity for residents to engage with myself, different departments, and different organizations as well as we speak. So we will go to the next slide. Just some quick facts that a lot of people oftentimes forget to know. Ward 5 have 8 city playgrounds and parks. We have 1 city facility called the Division of Waste Collection and Disposal, where you can do paper shredding. We have a Cuyahoga County Administration building right there on East 9th in Prospect, located in Ward 5. We have 2 recreation centers, the Lonnie Burton and the Central Recreation Centers. We have 3 cemeteries. We have 3 fire stations, and we have access to all 3 major high roads. We have 2 RTA stations, 2 high schools, 6 elementary schools, 3 libraries, and we are the home of the first African American to serve on Cleveland City Council, which was Thomas Fleming, who served from 1909 to 1911, and then again from 1916 to 1929. On addition, we also is the home of the first African American mayor of a major city, which is Carl Stokes, born in Alfred neighborhood. We also have home of United States Representative in Congress, Louis Stokes. We also is home of City Councilman Lonnie Burton. We also are home of Charlie Carr, who was the councilperson from 1945 to 1975. We are also home of the 57th Mayor Frank Jackson, who was the longest serving mayor, who served 4 full terms, equaling 16 years in Ward 5. All of these historic legends has come out of Ward 5. So next slide. Something that we oftentimes like to share is the fact that we have this system called 311, which is a real informative system that we have in place in the city of Cleveland. A lot of people are familiar with the 911 when it's an emergency call, but 311 is for service departments and information that is non-emergency calls for you to be able to make. So if you got some issues with building and housing, high grass, vacant lot maintenance, park maintenance, dead animal pickup, if you're trying to reach out to the mayor's office, potholes, snow removal, illegal dumping, tree trimming and removals, and all other issues that you may have in the city of the Cleveland that is non-emergency, you could pick up the phone and dial 311 and you can get it to the appropriate department where they will report each issue. I often tell residents, if you have the technology to take a picture when you do that 311, they can also show you how to upload it in different ways to get those issues taken care of. So if there's a pothole in the middle of the street, if your trash didn't get picked up, if you see the high grass is speaking up, you can dial 311 and put it in a ticket, and they will give you a reference number. And if you don't receive, if you look up a few days and it hasn't been checked out, when you call my office at 216-664-2309, give us that reference number and we can do a follow-up inquiry to figure out how we do those different things. Next slide. Also, right here, one of the most interesting things that we have in the city of Cleveland is collaborations from City Council, the Mayor's Office, the City of Cleveland, EMS, Cleveland Fire, and the Division of Police. We all work together to make Cleveland thrive, to be able to take care of all the needs that you may have in the community. Within that, we have what we call wards. There are 17 current wards as of 2025 and 2024. Right here on the left side is the map that you see of 2024, which represents the map we have of today. And then on the right-hand side is the map of 2026 that goes into effect January 1st of 2026. One of the things that is important to share with residents is the fact that there's some changes going on in the city of Cleveland as it relates to Cleveland City Council. Right now, we currently have 17 council members, and now we're going to 15 council members due to the population decrease. Now, some people say, what does that mean? Well, When we have every 10 years, we have this thing called the census, where everyone is counted to determine where you are living at or where you stay at. Where we have tied in our representation for Cleveland City Council based on the amount of population of people we have in the city. So when folks want to think about the representation on council, you have to make sure you are counted in the census every 10 years. And since then, we've lost a little bit over 3,500 people. We were 3,500 people short of being able to keep 17 council members, and therefore we had to redistrict. So when you see the map of the new redistricting, that means the new map that we just showed on the other slide was the new map of Ward 5, where we are losing some of our parts of our ward, such as our Slavic Village area and Broadway area. That is something that is changing due to the fact that the census numbers saying that the population decreased. So right here you see, since then, they have different changing of polling locations in the city of Cleveland to represent the 15 wards. So each precinct that is a polling location has to have a certain amount of residents, eligible voters in each precinct. So some precincts have changed, and we figured that out maybe 2.5 weeks ago at the election that we just had for a statewide election. Okay, as of 2025, like I was mentioning, it is something that you need to know. We underwent a significant redistricting process to accurately reflect the changes in our population. Following the charter amendment passed by Cleveland voters in 2008 of November, the council approved a redistricting plan that reduced the number of wards to 19 at that start of 2010 to 2013 council term. Aligning with the population identified in the federal census. The census is vital to our community for key reasons. The political representation you can have on council, the funding allocation, yes, when we say we don't want to be counted, that does have a negative effect on how much federal dollars we could possibly get into our neighborhood. When you talk about the decision making, meaning making sure you get the access to those leaders, if you're not there, if you do not know what's going on as far as the infrastructure services, and then research and historical record. It contributes to a deeper understanding of the community trends and the future needs. 2025, there will be 3 elections. So we just had a state Ohio primary election. On September 9th, we will have a municipal election for Cleveland. And then in November 4th, we will have a general election for the city of Cleveland as well. Something everybody asks for. What is a CDC? We be hearing a CDC. All elected officials say CDC. Well, CDC stands for Community Development Corporation, which are a really important part of our community development. They are the nonprofit organizations that are typically created to support community-based initiatives and revitalize disadvantaged neighborhoods. So we on Cleveland City Council work with community development corporations to get the development in there. When you start thinking about job opportunities or factories, the businesses, developments to come in our neighborhood, council people work with the Community Development Corporation to align those projects to fit the need of the neighborhood. They are typically community-led and governed with a board of directors made of local residents as well as stakeholders. They use a range of strategies to achieve their goals, including affordable housing, development, job training and placement, small business support, and community organizing. CDCs may work independently in partnership with local government agencies, philanthropic foundation, and other nonprofit organizations. CDCs are often focused on addressing issues such as poverty, unemployment, lack of affordable housing, and disinvestment in neighborhoods. CDCs can be in many cities and towns across the United States, and they play a key role in helping to create a healthier, more equitable, and more vibrant community. So yes, your CDC is very important, and it's important for us to work together to make sure they are in place to help us in the neighborhood. Prime example, Ward 5. We have an interesting ward. We are actually not just a central neighborhood, but we're a central location for the city of Cleveland. We have 5 community development corporations. We have Burton Bell Carr, we have Slavic Village Development, we have Midtown, we have Campus District, and then we have Downtown Alliance as a part of all of our community development corporations that comes in Ward 5. So everyone wants to know every year, where is the crime? What's going on? What is happening? What is taking place? So right here, we do have some stats that I definitely want to share about Ward 5 over the last 3.5 years. Right here, you will see that the number of calls so far this year, we have about 1,844 calls to the police. And when you talk about these calls are calls dealing with traffic stop, This is calls dealing with domestic violence. This is calls dealing with theft. These are calls dealing with grand theft auto, personal arson, assault, all type of different civil disputes, and then also anything that's happening as far as fight in progress or things like that. So right now we've had from January 1st to May 1st of this year, we've had a little bit over 1,800 calls from Ward 5. Next slide. 2024, as a whole entire year, we've had about 5,400 for those same type of categories, from traffic, domestic violence, shots fired, any grand theft auto, all type of different things where we are able to track, and this is public record for you to be able to pull this data as well. 2023, we had about 6,000 calls, which was a little bit higher from the same category of shots fired, civil dispute, suspect of stolen auto recovery. You know, we had a lot of theft as far as cars, breaking in Kia boys and Kia girls and all those different things. Next slide. 2022, we had about 5,300 calls in all regarding the same different categories. So if you look at the numbers of the day so far, that 1,800, we're closely like down as far as crime in our neighborhood. And I do give that to 3rd District and 4th District, who are the police districts in our ward. When we call and make those calls, they do an honest effort in trying to make sure they get those things addressed. But it takes us as a collaboration from the community and the police working together to handle some of the issues. Now, my office, I think I got more calls than just the police. When you look at the call log breakdown from 2025 up until, from 2022 to 2025, for 2022, when I first got in office, we had about 894 total calls. Of those calls, out of those calls that were more mainly residents, it was about 389 residents. So imagine you getting 894 calls to your office in 1 year, but 389 of those are residents. And when the residents' calls were related to public work issues, meeting requests, housing issues, public services, and utilities. And you will see that from 2022, the calls was there. And then when you look at 2023, the calls remain the same with about 874, but you see the residents total increased because I think residents wanted to learn more about what is the difference between Ward 5, some things that we're doing, different events we were hosting. So that's where I believe a lot of the increase of calls was based on the call log. And then when you see 2024, I believe it kind of settled where we got 912 calls, and then about 521 residents called about different issues. As of today, from May 1st, we've got about 440 total calls, which is right on pace to our average. And then we have about 261 calls. And within the context of calling the office, I oftentimes tell residents, be transparent, be open. If you hear Jessica answer the phone, if you hear Lamont answer the phone, if Marvin answer the phone, they say your name, your contact, make sure you give those information. If they ask you, you know, how can I help you, how can I assist you, they're trying to find out what is going on because they can be able to steer you in the right direction and get some of your needs met quickly than me. Meaning it's 24,362 residents in Ward 5. If 24,362 residents in Ward 5 is looking for me to call them back so they can get some things taken care of, you might be getting a call in September, depending on where your number is on the call log. So it's important to be able to explain what you're looking for, explain what you need help with, so they can be able to say, okay, you need the sideline application. Okay, we can send that over to you right now. Not, hey, I need my councilman to send me the sideline application. They can get that taken care of. If you saying, hey, this grass is not being cut, they can be able to find out where is it at and help expedite. If it's something that you need them to log, they would do that. And if you do not know, I do check my own emails. I do check the call logs. I do my follow-ups as well. So it's kind of a way to expedite and streamline what we have and how we can be able to better assist you. So next slide. Funding. Where is Cleveland City Council spending money? Where is the city spending money? That is a very important topic. The reason why I do these different State of Ward 5 address to be transparent, to let you know, to show you how things actually work and how government actually get along to get things out and how your taxpayer dollars are being spent and allocated through the Ward 5 office. Sample, here's a couple of funding streams we have. We have this thing called casino funding. Did you know that Ohio legalized casino gambling a little bit over a decade ago when Cleveland City Council is able to receive more than $17 million in casino taxes to spend on ward projects? Despite that money, we've been able to have a little small compared to the city overall budget. Council members have emphasized the importance of these funds for community development initiatives. Each council member of 17 wards, we get around about $116,000 in casino funds since 2024. And through the three, though there are notable differences in amounts spent across the ward. What you also got to understand is that we have a total budget of around $2.1 billion for the city of Cleveland. Everyone hear that number like, wait, we got all this money? Well, let's break it down a little bit. General fund operating dollars, we have around $810 million, and those is actual city services and departments to be able to operate the city. When you talk about the difference between the 2.1 and $810 million, is the difference between stuff you have to pay for and stuff that you have to actually operate the city. You can't just shut down cut off all the lights and all the water in our city and get rid of waste. You can't do that, but because we won't be able to operate. As far as the different general fund dollars, those are when you talk about the departments that you need assist. So when you talk about a community development department, when you talk about an economic development department, when you talk about the police, when you talk about fire, when you talk about EMS, that is money coming from the $810 million. When you talk about our wonderful broadcast of TV 20, our own Cleveland channel, that is money coming from the general fund to be able to have those departments up and running, to be able to facilitate and help us in the city. So those where you start seeing people saying, what do we add money to? What are we taking from? So if we take money from a different department and try to put it elsewhere, you like, where am I pulling at? Where am I adding money at? When you talk about the overall $2.1 billion budget. Next slide. Right here within this PowerPoint, you will see that we have just a list of items that we've spent as far as casino funds. Everyone want to know, like, how you spend this money? What is these money being spent on? And I wanted to make sure I break it down to some of the things. When you talk about a food pantry, when you talk about a neighborhood resource center, when you talk about stuff to help support the football program, when you talk about the cheerleading program, when you talk about additional dollars for grass cutting, when you start talking about ways to just help, we're using that $116,000 to be strategic. Mind you, it's only $116,000, and we got 24,000 constituents. So you try to make sense of how to allocate funding or where funding go to help with casino. As of today, we have about $126,000 in our casino fund. Every quarter, we get about 23 to 24,000 added into that account through the casino, depending on how good the casino are doing. Obviously, you know, when it was the pandemic, the casino wasn't doing well because nobody wasn't working. So we wasn't getting that much money. But you use those money to get things in place to help in the neighborhood on different initiatives. Casino has less restriction. As a matter of fact, in the next coming weeks, you will be seeing an amendment to the casino funds usages coming up before council. I have a draft in my email that me and my colleagues been working on to make it more easier and accessible to get the dollars out. Another funding source we have is capital repairs. This is one of my favorite funding sources. Capital repairs is a crucial component for any municipality budget that ensures the maintenance and improvements of infrastructure, public facilities, and other capital assets. Here are some key things. When you talk about capital repair budget, it typically funds for long-term investments in infrastructure, them roads, the bridges, the sewers, the public buildings. These budgets are separate from operation budgets, which funds day-to-day expenses like salaries and supplies. Capital repair budgets are often funded through a combination of sources, including bonds, grants, tax revenue. Capital repairs budget can be used to address crucial infrastructure needs, as well as invest in the project that improve the quality of life of residents. Effective capital repair budgets requires long-term planning, careful prioritization of projects, and ongoing monitoring and evaluation to ensure that the funds are being used effectively. Most cities have developed multi-year capital improvement plans that outline their priorities for capital repairs and investments. Still, remember, we have a 2.1 a total budget, but we have a general fund of $810 million. So, prime example, when you talk about we need this extra vacant lots club. You know, once you tear down properties and they become a vacant lot, we have to have something in place, right, to be able to help assist with getting those clean. So when you talk about seeing that 3-man crew or 3-person crew that's coming around and they cutting different things, Councilman Starr had to put up money to help get that additional services in place. So you may pull from the capital repair budget. When you talk about supporting University Settlement, where they were trying to get their pantry program up, we were able to put 50,000 in there. When you talk about those extra streets that you won't resurface, I had to find ways to get that different money, so we will pull from the capital repair budget. When you start talking about basketball courts, any different city-owned property, if you're talking about the state-of-the-art arts and craft room in the neighborhood recreation center, when you talk about the weight room support, when you talk about all these different things that you need in your neighborhood or you won't, we have to set it up. Now, my new favorite thing that we're looking to do is the Project Litter Crew for Ward 5, meaning we will have a different areas where we have litter. We will have a 3 to 4 person crew that can go and get those extra litter up around our neighborhoods, on our houses, that a lot of us complain or say that it's a major issue, because it is. We don't like trash. So that came out from talking to the residents. So overall, we spent about $590,000 on capital repairs. In our balance right now, we have about $339,000. The number may be going a little bit down because street resurfacing is coming up, which you'll see later on. Neighborhood Equity Fund. I found the slide. I put it back. I put it in right there. Ed knows what I'm talking about. From 1999 to 2002, Cleveland City Council President at the time was Mike Palenzi, who was instrumental in creating the Neighborhood Equity Fund, which targeted $21 million into the neighborhoods, ward development projects, and initiatives throughout the years. Neighborhood Equity Funds have been used for some of the following projects that I'm going to show you on the next slide. Boom, there we go. Can I get a PowerPoint? Yeah. So prime example, some of the things that we worked on is when Longwood Arbor Park apartments were going through a renovation and get upgrades. Back then, Councilwoman Cleveland was able to allocate additional $400,000 to complete that project, where we built 636 homes. Those closing costs is something that is very important. It might not be in the budget for the administration, but it could be in the budget for the council person to help prioritize those type of initiatives. Barkwell Parks, when we did the upgrades to Barkwell Parks, that was something that came from the Neighborhood Equity Fund. When you start talking about barbershop upgrades, United Labor Agency, when you talk about different projects initiatives with the CDC, when you talk about the turf, the outside courts, those things comes from having additional flow of dollars that does not fall in the line of casino or anything. You want to have a neighborhood equity fund to do things like that. So when you talk about community relations, when we want to partner with CRB to do different events, when you talk about trying to support different resource centers and night outs and ways to support projects, we use neighborhood equity funds to be able to use that. So as of today, we have about $382,000 of neighborhood equity fund. There should be another allotment of money coming in for us to be able to figure out ways to get it out. One of the hardest things is when you try to get money out, it usually takes roughly 90 days. So therefore, we work through a community development corporation to try to allocate the dollars out so they can get reimbursed, which sometimes if they don't have the money up front, we be stuck. So planning and being strategic is very important when getting those type of dollars out. Next slide. Now, one of my favorite slides is I like to do streets. It just costs so much though. You know the reason why I get excited about a street is because when you get a street resurfaced, you could be able to knock on and say, Ms. Grant, I got that street right there. I heard you. I heard you, Mr. Weaver. We're going to get that street. It's going to be next year. I got you. And then when it comes down to it, you're able to see how it goes. So when you talk about each year, each council person, we have an allotment of streets. Now, for the record, we have over 10,000 plus streets in the city of Cleveland. 10,000. Remember that number. And then when you think about how streets cost, depending on the grade, the width, the length of a street determines how much it costs. And also how bad the street needs to repair. Because you got to put those dollars into it. So prime example, in 2025, we were able to get our first allotment of $753,000 to do streets. So I'm gonna tell y'all that I'm working from forward and I'm gonna work backwards. So right there, you see these are the streets that's on the list that's slated to get repaved. And when you look at all of the PCRs and you look at the grade of the streets, if any one of your children brought you those grades home, I don't think they would be able to go outside this summer, right? So we need to get those improved. So we have 1, 2, 3, 6 streets. We have, out of the 6 streets, 4 of them are D streets, and then 2 of them are F streets. So we need to get those streets repaired, right? Also, what people don't understand is when we go through those budgeting times and you reading those articles and you seeing those on YouTube and we're going back and forth like, put this in the budget, take that out the budget, it's so we can do some things. So one of the things that we talked about was how do we get more dollars for our streets? So you see that $753,000 allotment, and then you see down there at the bottom where it says 2025 $8 million supplement. That is from us advocating as council members for how we need more streets. So each council member got an additional $500,000 to $600,000 to do additional streets. So therefore, instead of just having $753,000, now we're talking about almost a little bit over $1.2 million to do some more streets. But we also know it costs. These streets cost. So when you look at it, we were able to get some of our streets on from central side of our neighborhood and some of our Kinsman streets done with the $753,000. But you see that $10,000, that's a carryover dollar. So I was able to get those streets, but I'm like, yo, I need that street. I can't take that street off because I'm short, so I need to find other money to use. So that's when you talk about the capital repair dollars. So I can put that extra $10,000 with it. And then when you talking about the last street that we got from the Mayor Office of Capital Projects Department, who's going to do these additional streets. This is where you see some different streets throughout our neighborhood. We got some on Kinsman, we got some on Central, we got some on East 70th, we got some on downtown that we are doing. But if you look at that report card from your child, you would say that's a lot of F's and 1D. So how do we get those in place? There you see we went over from $543,000 that we allotted that we was allocated, and then you see it went up to $634,000. So how do we find that additional $91,000, which means you add that 91 plus the 10,000 on the top one, we need another $101,000. You pull from that capital repairs because you need to get it done. So I'm proud to say we got 13 streets getting done in Ward 5 this year alone, which is a big improvement when you're used to seeing 4, 5 streets get done in one season. So next slide. Then when you start talking about the breakdown, in 2024, we was able to get $749,000 to get some streets done. We did some Central Cedar Side streets. And then when you talk about 2023, we did a lot of streets in Savick Village and St. Heinz neighborhood, where we was able to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, almost 10 streets done right there. Because I was able to balance it, find out what the distance is, talk to residents, find out what they needed, and we was able to get those streets down in 2023. And then when you go over, another slide, you'll see some other streets that we got done in 2022. So if you, just to get the understanding of what I was doing with the streets was, when I first got in office, ran for office, I heard from a lot of residents in the Savick Village neighborhood, St. Heinz neighborhood, about streets not being done in their neighborhood. So in 2022, and in 2023, my first priorities was making sure I get those streets done in those 2 years. 2024, 2025, I said, well, let's get some streets done in another part of our ward, as well as including this. Try to spread it out so it's not just one area getting all the resources and others not. So those are things you have to be strategic and intentional to make sure you spread out the services. On top of that, when we was arguing and debating at the table, we asked for some more money for some more streets. We were able to get some ARPA funding requests from from Joe Biden, where we were able to add on some additional streets. So over total cost, we've got about $4.4 million in streets resurfacing since I've been elected, which is an increase. If you hear from past council members, they would say that's called pushing an envelope and going after the dollars because the residents need it. And you will see that it's all spread it out throughout the Ward 5 to be able to help address some street resurfacing. We talked a little bit about community development fund. One of the biggest challenges that we're dealing with is once you have changes of administration in the White House, they start deciding how federal dollars are spent. So right now we do still have the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in place, but we do not know what the funding looks like. So I do have some past numbers of some things that we received, but there's different things that's in place that possibly can deter or affect this type of funding that we get currently. So community development by grant process is we have a report. So on average, each council member get roughly around $437,000. And you use that $437,000 to use it to help do the work with your community development corporation to can help you in your neighborhood. So just an example of what we have in place. Right there it shows you the community development corporation that we received funding from Ward 5. Right there, you get $100,000 went to Burtonville Carr. South Village Development gets about $80,000, and then for some social recreation. So what I mean by social recreation, out of the $437,000, a max total is around $75,000 to $80,000 that you can spend on social services. So if we wanted to do something from community development block grant, and we want to do stuff with the Southeast Neighborhood Resource Center, right? This will be the max I can give them or any organization. Total overall is $80,000 or $75,000 each year for social services. I can't just give one organization 75 and try to use the rest of the 437. Those are rules and restrictions that HUD has put down for what prohibits everything. When I first got in office, it was like certain organization getting $300,000 of community development block grant, and then another organization $100,000, and then you stuck. Me try to be a forward thinking and paying attention to the wave of government. I said, well, let's not just spend all of our money. Let's figure out how we can put something in the bank, in the rainy day fund. So therefore, if something goes wrong, we're able to do some different things out. So when you see the $437,000, we spent about $216,000, and then we do have $375,000 in the bank as of today. Some of these things is the reason why I held back on it, because I'm saying, how do we get more for our buck? If we have reports and grants where they said, hey, we got 6 initiatives that we're trying to do in 1 year, and we're only getting 5 or getting 0, I'm like, well, what are we doing? What are we doing? The report for this year is not available yet because a lot of our HUD funding might be cut. So I'm going off the stuff that we've had from last year to try to give you an understanding of how community development block grant dollars work and our organizations spend them in our ward. It's really hard because there's certain type of rules, and sometimes you may say, well, that don't make sense, we should be able to do it this way, but the rule is the rule from the federal government. So that pushes you to frustration, make you think of Facebook statuses that I post, it make you think of stuff that we deal like, wait, I just need you to help me. The end result is to help the people. So therefore, that's why it's important to have elected officials in positions that can help amend laws so we can get usages changed as well. Similar to just a different breakdown of different ways that community development corporation dashboard where they've been receiving funding for numerous years from like 2019 to 2023. Mind you, I got in 2022, so you're seeing how that increase of dollars and how they were spending some of these dollars on different programs and what they look like. Same thing right here. This is a more in-depth spreadsheet that breaks down all of the PIF amounts as well as how many wards work on it. So when you know about a community development corporation, they may have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 2 or 3 council people who utilize that community development corporation. So they all may partner up and say, hey, I'm gonna put 20,000 over here. Can you match me so we can get this going on? So when you talk about different staff that can help you to get through, navigate the city stuff through the CDCs, they're getting funded to be able to have those employees in place to help us. Something that we definitely talked about, we did do a master plan as far as our asset mapping. Our next step is we got all the asset, we got all the things to figure out what we want to see in our neighborhood. Next, we're gonna draw out a master plan so we can be able to conduct the actual master plan. When you have 5 community development corporations in one ward, everyone got their own master plan, and we just don't have the Ward 5 master plan that come in together. So that will be our next step that we have in place for us to actually have that master plan. From when we went through all those stakeholder interviews, I believe there was about 105 residents that participated overall. So that was a good turnout to find out from 100 residents what you want. And then the goal was to speak to everyone that wanted to be involved, and we did meetings in all throughout Ward 5. Proud to say that in the city of Cleveland in Ward 5 since 2022, we've had about 76 demolitions of properties, nuisance properties in Ward 5, meaning those properties, thank you, shout out to Ed, who does a lot of work. If you don't know, the Taco Slayer, he does provide feedback. He goes around, take pictures, send information, and work with me voluntarily to help support the work that we need in our neighborhood where we tag team properties. So you see we got a lot of properties that residents in Broadway and Southwick Village said need to come down. Then we got a lot of properties that residents in Central and Kinsman said need to come down. But then therefore it creates an opportunity where we have land that can be developed. So now you start talking about, okay, we want to see better homes. Well, we got rid of that house that really couldn't save, but let's start thinking about what we could do as far as targeting different homes. And that's why our master plan is very important. So therefore, when developers come to Councilman's office and start talking about what they want to develop, I can point them in the right direction, in the right area to get things done. If you just don't have a master plan or a plan in place, you just be talking about, yeah, the developer want to put this factory next to this house that everybody don't want a factory there. They say they want houses right here. Why you think you could just get this big plot of land and build what you want versus what the residents will want to see? Or you find out from residents what was there long before it was a vacant lot for you to be able to say how to rebuild the neighborhood. So we've got a lot of properties torn down. Major shout out to the whole Ward 5 residents as we collab to get that done as well. And then just some key things. Right now, we have quite a few development projects going on from our recreation centers, both getting upgraded from Lonnie Burton and Central Rec. They're going through a $14 million upgrade. We did a bond sale transfer of Rainbow Terrace. West Bell Riders expansion, they are consolidating and coming there one program, bringing their offices to East 79th off of Kinsman so they can be able to have that program there. We do got the NORAM cold storage happening. We do got Oasis Homes, which is going to be homes built in the St. Hanson neighborhood. We should have a groundbreaking by the end of this summer, which is going to be great. We got a Warren Swayze project, which is going to be a $66 million mixed housing right off of 56th and 57th in Carnegie, which is going to be huge for us. We do got International Food Solution, which is a $100 million job opportunity coming into our ward. Woodland Branch went through an $8.1 million investment of a new library. We do got some new homes also coming into our central neighborhood, which is going to be homes built by the Cuyahoga County Land Bank, as well as some homes that they're going to do some home repairs as well. Also, we got almost a $10 million street resurfaces from Carnegie, from East 55th to East 79th. The Carver Park CMHA just completed a $31.5 million renovation of the 55th and 40th side of their different apartments where we got those up. Part of our downtown area, 1060 Boulevard, which is going to be a mixed housing, $3.8 million right there off of Boulevard, right across the street from Progressive Field. And then we do got an East 79th RTA station that is getting upgraded for us to have ADA accessibility for our red line, green line, blue line, that would be taking place as well. So we got a little bit, $253 million, but if you round up, it's a little bit more. I did not add a couple of dollars in there on some other things. So it's a little higher than what the 253 is, but that's just all we've been able to do so far within the last 3.5 years. Thank you.
Yeah.
So definitely we'll open it up. If you have any questions, we do have a mic right here where you can ask any questions that you may have. We do have this live stream on TV 20. Shout out to our Cleveland TV 20. This is our Cleveland TV station and our Cleveland photographer for being out here to just be able to document this so you can be able to go back and look at it and talk about it, share it on your social media platform or your friends as well. So you have any questions?
I do, but do I have to go to the mic because I'm pretty loud?
I'll repeat it.
Only because it's hard for me to listen.
Oh, you're good.
Don't be a smart aleck.
When the brothers and sisters do it.
I didn't tell you to get in the fight with the sidewalk.
The sidewalk one.
Obviously.
Hey, Ms. Odetta.
Each council member gets this money, right?
Yes, as far as the community development block grant funding?
Yeah,
Yes.
all the money that you've been talking about.
Yes.
Because we've struggled and never received money for help. So I'm just making this clear.
Yes.
Now, why is it with this CDC activity grant that Ward 12 gives more money to Slavic Village than any other?
So that would, so your question is, why does the Ward 12 activity report gives most of their money to Slavic Village than anything else?
Yes.
I would say that definitely I do not know the right answer to why another council person does that, but I would guess that may be their only community development corporation that they have. in their ward, and they possibly give most of their bulk of their money because that's who's doing a lot of work to help them. With me, I have 5 community development corporations, so I try to spread something around to be able to help everyone else. But to answer that question, definitely that would be a question that the council person possibly can give you the answer more in depth on why.
I'm going to ask that question to that
Yes.
council person.
Yes. Any other question? Yeah.
We just need our don't litter signs on 40th coming from the restaurants.
Okay.
Because Mr. Grant pick up all the paper around that area, but we need no don't litter, please,
So you need a couple don't litter signs. Lamont, you put that note down?
please.
So on 40th between Central and Cedar. Yep, so Central and Cedar about Central Middle School. No litter signs up and down the street, so we can probably have that on there.
Hey, Councilman
Hey, how's it
Starr.
going?
Hey, I'm Stephanie Thomas, for people that don't know me, Shelter the People Cleveland. So I'm interested to know if our organization might be able to apply for any of the remaining Community Development Block Grant money or the Neighborhood Equity Funds, because we would like to develop 6 homes next to our community gathering space. But before that, we're getting started in Clark Fulton. So we're getting, a lot of help from the council person over there. And I've been sort of headhunted by existing established developers to do that.
Okay.
They're gonna be beautiful homes, and we would like to, I'm so happy about all the homes that are about to be built in Slavic Village, and we just wanna make sure that there's enough homes for families and, to support the new businesses.
Yes, so to answer that question, one, when you talk about the community development grant dollars, we will definitely have to figure out what to do because there's more likelihood that we will not have no more money of that funding coming this year or the next 3 years, depending on what the federal government. So we're not just giving that money out or using it for projects. We want to be strategic and making sure, because we use that money to have the people in place at the CDCs. Then the Neighborhood Equity Fund, there's different opportunities to do some exploring, but then there's also other different funding sources that the city have. So that would be a question we can talk more offline and figure out the project, see how we can work together to get that in place. Then also we may need to work with other council people too, because it may be a gap that you need. So one of the things that most people don't know is that City of Cleveland funding source is the gap closing source when it comes to different projects. So the city will say, okay, you got your capital stack, and you say, hey, I'm short 250,000, or I'm short $1 million. How can the city help close that gap? And that's when the city usually come in on projects. So there are different ways that we can work together to figure that out offline.
Let's talk about it, because things are starting to come together.
Yep.
That number's becoming apparent.
No problem, Stephanie. Got another question? Mr. Weaver? Okay.
Appreciate it. Ramon Weaver, Ward 5, obviously. Quick question about, two questions. Any plans on renovating Central Middle School or High School on 40th? Second, how will the Cleveland Browns potentially move and impact Ward 5?
Okay. I knew that question was coming. That's the second one. First question is regarding Central Middle School. Interesting question. Interesting conversation I had maybe about a month and a half ago. Myself and Dr. Basson of Tri-C and also CEO Dr. Morgan of CMSD. We sat down and had a 3-hour dinner. And we were talking about what type of collaborations and partnership. And one of the things that Dr. Basson asked was, what properties do you have available that Tri-C can become a great partner in? So one of the things they're looking to do is figure out what type of different initiatives from the Tri-C can do as far as buildings and type of schoolings, different type of schooling that we can have in our neighborhood. Central Middle School was brought up as a talking point. We're trying to figure out what we want to do. Also, I've been approached in the past, maybe my second year into council, about a developer wanting to build housing or out of there. So people have talked about it, but have we got some major push on it? No. It's all about trying to figure out what makes sense, and I want to make sure within our master plan, this is something the entire community will want to see there as opposed to just jumping the gun. So that is a plan to do something with that facility, but we want to make sure we be intentional. That is something that residents like yourself who live in that neighborhood to have something there that they want, not something that I just think is good without having that. Second part, the Cleveland Browns, their decision to either stay or try to leave the city overall, for me personally, and from my sports management undergrad background, I would just say this to the point. if you have something in place and you're generating revenue downtown or in the area, and something that has been there for 25 years and they up and leave, or can make an impact. Whether you want to say small or big, you have to do a cost analysis. You have to look at it from that different standpoint. What do the ecosystem look like? That can all play in the factors. But then also when you start to think about the plans to move everywhere and rebuild the whole land, now you got to talk about how many people are actually traveling past that land to utilize those facilities. So one of my biggest things is, my goal is for the Cleveland Browns to remain in the city of Cleveland. That tailgating experience that residents have is something that is very important. But then also it's important that we as a city do not give up a lot of our assets just to keep something here, because greed is a dirty ballpark when you talk about public sector dollars. But also I always want to tell residents that they got to understand that Cleveland Browns Stadium or that Huntington Bank Stadium, that is City of Cleveland Stadium. So when people are like, well, we don't want to spend no money, it's your stadium. It's our stadium. So when we say we don't want to take care of our stadium, it's owned by you. So you don't want to take care of something that's owned. That's just like you talking about the person that bought the house next to you that don't live in this country and they don't want to take care of it. So you wanted to, but we also have to be intentional and strategic. Like, if we're going to redo a stadium, is stadium going to still be played the way they are? Or are we going to be forward thinking about what do the future look like in stadium? Do you want a retractable roof? Do you want these different things? How do you turn something that you say you use 6, 8, 10 times a year into something that you could potentially use all year round downtown? So it's so hard to say. There's so many different opinions. I did write a paper when I was in undergrad on sports facilities and why Art Modell left. So I'm not going to get into that part of it, but it's something that we definitely have to work on. And I want to give major shout out and kudos to Cuyahoga County, Chris Ronayne, who's been doubling down, because you definitely need help. And unless the Browns want to spend their own money and do whatever they want, sometimes after that, big boys do what they do, but we still have to fight to keep them down here. Ms. Grant? Okay.
That plaza up there on 40, what's going on with that? I see
That's-
that the hair store closed up there, been closed about 4 or 5 months now.
Yep. So one of the biggest things is when you start talking about the neighborhood equity fund and those different dollars. So one of my goals is to use some dollars that we have from our discretionary funds to help get us an anchor institution up there. Today I spoke to someone who, a business owner, he's trying to put a restaurant in there, and another business owner who's trying to put another barbershop in there. And then also we're talking about doing a food co-op potentially in the grocery store area. If you're familiar with food cooperations, is the opportunity for us to have our own grocery store, owned by the people, owned by the residents, where they have their membership similar to like a Sam's Club, where they go and they do their own shopping with different amenities. Right now, New York has some, Detroit has some, and Chicago has some. My goal is to go do a visit and do a tour to learn a little bit more about it. So I didn't read things online, and how do we set some dollars aside to be able to help with that. Also, major shout out to our county council person, Pernell Jones. He too said he will match dollar for dollar to help make sure we get a grocery store or some type of food co-op in that neighborhood. So we got some things in there in place, because everyone's saying, I don't want to be in your neighborhood and I don't want to be a grocery store in there. That's just a poor excuse that we no longer can sit by. We have to do things ourselves sometimes.
Hi, Ward 5. I was asking, my thing is, you all keep putting in different facilities saying that it's jobs, and they're not giving the jobs to the people in the community, like the Dunkin' Donuts. There's nobody in our community working there. It's other communities that's coming in and taking money up out of our community. That's one of my major concerns. Another major concern is that they keep providing youth opportunities and different jobs for kids, but they're starting off too late for the children to me. Most children in other countries and other places start off early. We're starting our kids off at teenagers, and then we keep saying jobs. There's no entrepreneurship programs and different things of that sort. Case Western got good programs for the kids, but it just should start a little earlier and be more equipped with different things.
Thank you for that question. First, to the first question about job opportunities for the residents in the neighborhood. Okay, one, what I try to do is when it comes down to community benefits agreements within Ward 5, One of the biggest things that I try to do is make sure we have the opportunity for residents in the ward to apply for those jobs. One of the tough times that I deal with is residents sometimes don't apply. And what I mean by that is we could put something in place, but if they don't go for it or don't have the tools or resources, that's where we have to think of another one. So one of the things I've been trying to do is work and be intentional on what we ask and store for a community benefits agreement. Prime example, when you talk about the International Food Solutions, the Goodwill building right on Central, one of the things that they're going to have is 2 shifts, first shift, second shift. They're going to have 221 jobs. One of the things that I put into the community benefit is how do we ensure that 75 jobs is available for Ward 5 residents first. But if Ward 5 residents aren't going to get the trade, going to get certifications that they're going to be able to pay for the job, to be able to maintain a job, then it's like, hey, I need them to be able to keep making products so they can produce, so they can keep being in our building. If they don't have employees in there, that's on the thing. So one of the biggest things that I'm pushing right now, with the reason why I'm having a conversation with Dr. Morgan and Dr. Bastin of Tri-CM CMSD, is how do we create trade opportunities earlier for our children, introducing them as far as 6th grade to 8th grade in the middle school. And then from that 6th grade to middle school, they learn about 2 or 3 trades. And then in high school, they declare 2 trades as a part of their requirement to graduate, which can then say, you know what, I'm setting them up for success afterwards for life outside of high school. So those are some things we have to do, but we also got to be strategic, and we also got to make sure Ward 5 and residents in the city want these opportunities. That's why it's important to build a master plan together of things that residents want to see. So when you start talking about those job creations and opportunities, it's something that we want in our neighborhood. So it's a big thing to tackle, but it's something we could tackle collectively, and definitely would love to talk to you more offline to see how we can do that.
Okay. And then the opportunities for younger kids, like, to me, I feel like Cleveland Public Library should offer the kids an entrepreneurship day where they can come up and set up stands and sell different merchandise and different booths. That's something that we could put in place, and also work with CMSD with that. Yep. I thought about that today when I went to a meeting over on Kinsman. What is that? Bill
Carr?
Yeah, so I went to there, and then they was talking about youth opportunities, but I'm saying before they get to youth opportunities and entrepreneurship.
So that's back to what we was talking about, working with our CMSD, so we can start doing exposures as early as that 6th grade, maybe that 5th grade age, when you're talking about 10, 11, 12-year-olds, starting to get them mind rolling, racing, introducing exposures. That's our ways to do it. So there's all type of things that we can do. It's going to take us together figuring out the ways to get to it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you see me after the meeting?
Yep. Okay, another question? No, you good.
All right, Ward 2, right? So my question is, compared to other cities and other states, a lot of the times the cities will have a higher budget for art, but when it comes to Cleveland, it seems like our budget is very low, almost to none, when it comes to like remodeling and also supporting the local artists of the city. So what is something that we can do as a community or as people to also try and push to change that, to also support for our local artists?
That's a great point. Arts is very important. And like my councilman colleague, Conwell, who's always speak about the arts and music, is important because not everyone is an athlete. Mm-hmm. Not everyone going to play sports. But also you got to understand that everyone can be participating in music, arts, and some different form of tools of those type of resources. So one of the things is I was proud to support and vote for us with our Transform the Arts initiative, where we put $3 million of ARPA funding into the neighborhoods, where they had a RFP process where artists from the city were able to go after those dollars to do different projects in the city of Cleveland, where they had 7 lead artists that were selected, and then most of those lead artists had artists in a collective that was working on these projects. I'm proud to say out of the 7 projects, 2 of them came to Ward 5. I don't know how that happened, but 2 of them is here. And within that point, for Black Maternal Health this past weekend, we were able to do a mural of a mother raising her child to grab the world, to be able to signify the importance of motherhood, support, and bring awareness to Black maternal health. So we are able to participate in that. And then we also have another initiative taking place at East Tech, as well as with CMHA, working on family portraits, bringing in life, bringing things together through the arts and different things like that. So we understand that other cities are doing more with arts. We're getting on board with it as well, and we're trying to figure out ways to be able to put more dollars into the arts as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Ms. Odetta.
With the jobs that are coming in, are there going to be able to be felony impacted jobs?
Yes.
Because you know we do reentry here, and we have a lot of people coming home that need jobs.
That's a great question, and give it up for Ms. Odetta for that question. And to answer it straightforward, one, I am the tri-chair of the Cuyahoga County Reentry Coalition, so reentry is very important to me. Two, one of the things that we have to do is not just have them job friendly for felonies or guys with, or people with second chance. We need to make sure we work with them to have the tools too to be successful. Just saying, hey, you accept me and I have a background. Give me some resources to help me be able to maintain and create that opportunity to stay at that job. Not just a job, but a career opportunities. So yes, these jobs are opportunities for us. And in the factory, what I put into the International Food Solution on working with our community partners and working with our CDC was, how do you get training certification? Okay, don't put me in at a job saying, I got the job because of my council person, right? How do you help me get the tools, the certifications? So therefore, if I don't like your culture, I'm not just stuck here to you. I could use this certification on being a tow motor lift to go over to another company. I could probably go to a Piers, or I could possibly go to Orlando Bread. I ain't got to just be glued here. I might have started here, but if it's not what I look for, I got some certification out of it that I can explore other options. But also, it's important to use our asset and our resource that we have in there. We have manufacturing, industry, advanced technology at Tri-C in Ward 5. And through that program, they have access and tools for everybody, no matter what your background is, to be able to get in the program. But we the people, back to the question we had earlier from the young woman, is we got to get ready. We got to make sure we take advantage of these opportunities, because you know what happened? People from all over Cuyahoga County may use Tri-C, but us in our own ward are not effectively using. And it maybe it's twofold. They might not know about the resources, they might not be connected to it, but giving them those opportunities is going to take all of us. But yes, the tools, the resources, no matter your background, we can definitely work with you to help with that. And I always partner with you as well.
And can I say, what he is saying is so true, because at Tri-C, here at the Resource Center, we do have a reentry program, and we don't do anything, we don't give a resource unless we know it's true. So we went through the logistics program. We are certified logistic technicians. A couple of us are here, just to know that it's true.
Yes.
And it is absolutely true. We went through the program, graduated the program, and it works.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms.
For the
Odetta.
record, she can drive a forklift, but she can't walk.
Hey, Stephanie.
I just was gonna say, Odetta, we would love to get some felons coming back home to work on construction. So we'll be training people as we go. So we should talk later.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie.
So getting back to the stadium thing, has there been any discussion on, because, I mean, let's be honest, the Browns are probably moving to Brook Park. I mean, they don't need the city to do it. It sounds like the state funding is going to be approved. Has there been any discussion about what to do with the stadium when that happens?
So, okay.
I mean, it seems to me we're going to have a huge piece of property on the front of the lakefront in prime real estate that we're not going to be able to do anything with in about 4 years.
So, it's always Ed, y'all. Just remember Ward 5. I love Ed. And no matter what the maps look like, Ed is still a Ward 5 baby. Trust me. He's still a Ward 5. I know. I looked at all the voter locate. But to that point, to this question is, one of the things that we do is, when you talk about these different deals, it's negotiations. Most of the time, the mayor and his administration works on negotiations. So I believe they have a plan B if Saints does not fold, for them to be able to have some things in place as far as a benefit to us. We still currently paying on the stadium. That was a deal that was done in '99, which was a 30-year deal. So within that, hypothetically, my hope and my support is, if they do leave, they don't leave us with a stadium that we have to figure out how to do something with it. I believe within the deals and the community agreements and the benefits and negotiations, there may be something to show how to help us deal with something that is no longer needed if they're not there. And that's a big if. I think it's some other things that they need to place, unless the Browns themselves is going to fund everything. I think it's going to be a tough task for them to just pack and move without funding it themselves. Any other questions? Well, I'll be around some more. Major shout out to TV20 for coming out to make sure they had our State of Ward 5 address down here at the Southeast Cleveland Resource Center, where we are at 5606 Fleet Avenue in Ward 12, but it's Ward 5 love and family. Thank you all.
Ward 5. And if anybody wants any onions, we have
Thank you.
bags of onions up there.
No problem. Thank y'all so much, and I'll be around us for us to talk offline. Thank you so much.